Hey guys, super excited today. I'm Luke Letty, the Brand Development and Marketing Director here at DigiJump, and I have with me Matt Wolfert, the IHSAA Foundation President. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence today.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So I just want to start off and just, if you wouldn't mind, give us a little bit of background information on yourself, your schooling, kind of previous jobs, and everything. How did you get here?
Yeah. How I arrived to today.
Yes.
Well, I grew up in Oxford, Ohio, son of an athletic trainer. My dad was the head athletic trainer at Miami of Ohio, or those of us from Oxford call it Miami University.
Yeah.
And I came to IU back in the 80s and studied sports management. I got a master's degree from Ohio University back in the day. A year later, and sort of wanted to get into college athletics and chase that dream a little bit. So it's been a long journey because it's been almost 30 years now, and of just working in and out of athletics. I spent almost 10 years at Ball State as associate AD for external affairs, selling tickets and sponsorships and raising money and all kinds of stuff. And you really chase those passions and those dreams. I have 3 daughters who all played sports along the way as well, and the journey just sort of takes you along your own path as you go. And I certainly have an affinity to high school sports as well, and trying to make a difference. So it's brought me here. I spent 4 years at the NCAA as well, working with the corporate partners, and selling. We didn't really sell the sponsorships as much as we were servicing the sponsors. Sure. But these are some big companies that are providing sponsorship for the NCAA to make their championships work.
Definitely. So you've been at pretty much every level: high school, college, NCAA, a little bit.
Yeah.
What led you to want to become the IHSAA Foundation president? Why high school?
Yes, that's a good question. And I spent a couple of years at Cathedral High School after I left the NCAA because I wanted to get back to making more of a difference and working with the kids. And so when you're at the NCAA, I was a little bit further removed from that. And so I took the leap. And I'm a people person. I'm a relationship person. So I like the idea of, that's what took me to Cathedral. And so you start raising money there. We had a capital campaign going on there. And then I think sometimes, like we find in business and you'll find in your career, is that if your antenna is up, you don't know exactly what's going to come to you. Okay. I knew that I probably wasn't going to stay at Cathedral the rest of my career, but it was the right spot at the right time for me then. Okay. Well, this opportunity comes up with the IHSAA Foundation, and it's brand new. So it's very entrepreneurial. The IHSAA has been around for 115 years, but the IHSAA Foundation is only a couple years old. And so I'm really the first full-time president of the foundation. It's only 3 years old. So I saw it as this great opportunity to do something, to make a difference and make an impact, like you said. So as soon as I heard about what we were going to do, not just raise money for programs, but it was to develop and initiate some of these initiatives and programs around the state. That was really intriguing me. I said, I'd like to learn more. Next thing you know, you're in an interview, and you're like, this is it. This is what I want to do.
So you kind of knew. You got in that role, and you're like, this is just clicked.
And it had to do with the just from the first moment of making getting the interview. I had the opportunity to learn from Bobby Cox what his vision was as the commissioner of the IHSAA, and learn from him what he wanted to do. And it was like, this is because I serve all 92 counties, and I want to get into that a little bit as we talk about what we're doing. But that's what brings me down this way as well, is that we have members, 410 members all over the state, and you feel like you can make a difference and make an impact for kids in Indiana.
Sure. Okay. That's awesome. That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you wouldn't mind just expanding a little bit on that, kind of what are, as the president, what are your I guess we'll start short-term goals and then maybe long-term goals down the road.
Sure. So initially, it's very startup. Like I said, this is a startup foundation. We got to develop a donor base first. So we if you're out there listening and you're interested in participating, supporting the foundation, IHSAAfoundation.org. That's a good plug for the website. But we need to get some donors. So we only have, I say only, we had 100 donors when I first started, and we have almost 450 now. So
You're
so
growing,
so we're growing
exponentially.
Yeah,
exponentially.
but people don't even know that we exist yet. So short-term goals is get on the radar.
Yeah.
Right. You gotta let people know why we exist. If you think of it this way, the IHSAA was created to have the membership. There's 410 members. Make the rules, interpret the rules, and then run the championships. That's why the IHSA exists. For 115 years, they've been doing that because they are the ones who make, they have to make a fair play. That's why they created in the first place, is they needed rules to make it work. So 115 years later, create the foundation to sustain and protect education-based athletics. So education-based athletics, by definition, is high school. It's high school sports. It's education-based first.
I like the way that you said that.
And so, and I've talked to a lot of people about this, that you say, we're here to serve the 97% of the student athletes that are never going to play in college or at a higher level than high school.
Yeah.
So we have to develop and sustain those programs so that we can keep it alive here. The antithesis of high school sports, or what we do, are the club sports and the money that's being made in and around club sports. There's room for everybody, but we want to stay focused on the programs that we can bring to the coaches, the athletic directors, to give the kids that here in Indiana the education they need. It's an extension of the classroom. You got to think of it this way: at the high school level, if there's 7 classes in the day, the 8th class period is volleyball practice, is football practice, is cross country, and we need to make sure our coaches are doing things and teaching them as an extension of the classroom, and not for any other reason. So you talk about short term, developing our donor base, starting to get some support so we can spread the word. But we want to make a difference with our members, and that means providing them with resources to have a chance to be better, to do more.
Yeah.
So there's no hiding from the fact that high schools don't have tons of resources.
Yep.
Okay, so we can help and be helpful in that category with regard to bringing them some programs that they don't have to pay for. So where the IHSAA itself was rules, interpretations, run the championships, the foundation comes along. We're gonna develop education and leadership programs for the schools, for the athletic directors. So long term, I would see, and I've told this publicly, I'm working on a strategic plan right now, but I would see that we could have 10,000 donors someday.
Okay.
I mean, think about all the people in the state of Indiana that played a high school sport, that want to protect and sustain high school sports the way it's supposed to be in the state, that will get on board to make a donation and support our cause, and knowing that we're helping their local schools just as much as we're helping their all. Yeah. So and we spent a lot of time long term building relationships with the community foundations around the state as well, because what will happen is that in each county in Indiana, we're the only state in the country that has something like this, but there is a community foundation in all 92 counties in the state of Indiana. And their sole purpose is to raise money to help their county and their community. And so, ironically, if we write grants to bring programs to these high schools, like let's say in the county right here down in the southern part of the state here, we can keep those monies right here in the southern part of the state too. So I'm going to be a conduit for that. Whether you raise the money and put it right to the foundation, or we just sort of help bring it from the community to the schools, to me the end result's the same. Right. That's what we're trying. That's what we're trying to do. So one of the big programs that we have going on is a program called the Inside Out Initiative. Okay. And so the Inside Out Initiative, quite simply, is a program that has to do with refocusing and addressing the win-at-all-cost mentality in high school sports. At this level, like we keep talking about, this is not just about winning.
No.
This is about education and developing these young citizens who are going to be the next leaders of our communities. And all that is good with high school sports. And so we bring this program to the schools, and it's called the Inside Out Initiative. And we want coaches to remember, and we want ADs to remember, and we want to create this common language so that we address winning at all costs. Yeah. And we have people talking that way, so it's not just about that. And we want our coaches and ADs to be transformational leaders and coaches at this level, not transactional. So if the higher you get in sports, the more transactional it gets.
Sure. Yeah.
So
there's just more money involved.
If you're a college coach and you don't win, you'll get fired.
Yes.
So there's more of a balance there. It's not supposed to be that way at the high school level. If you are not winning, it might be because you just don't have the talent pool in the community at that time. And then you got to work on developing their youth programs and those kind of things. But over time, it ebbs and flows. But we want you being the coach that you're supposed to be teaching these kids life lessons and doing the things that matter and getting you ready for life. So think about that. The higher you get, if you're a professional coach, it's virtually all transactional.
Right.
Because your job is to come out here and play football at the highest level, and that's your job. So we're developing that program all over the state at this time, and we've got about 100 schools involved with it, and I feel really good about that. Because if you think about 100 schools, that's 100 ADs who are talking to all these coaches at their schools, and it represents over 50,000 student athletes already around the state. So just by way of numbers, there's 160,000 student athletes in the state of Indiana. Those 410 schools represent 160,000 student athletes. So we're making a difference already in our short time. So the foundation is really here to do both things. Raise the money and start to get the awareness so we can be helpful for our member schools and our member institutions, but also develop these programs that we can bring to the schools. So they walk sort of hand in hand.
Yeah, definitely. Wow.
That's a long answer.
That's a great answer. No, that's a great answer. No, seriously, that's a great answer. It's really about making an impact for the kids and getting them ready for life. Life after sport and what, develop them as humans, as citizens, kind of like you said. So
if you can repeat it back to me like that, that means I explained it correctly. Because that is education-based athletics, the way you just said it. That's what we're supposed to be preparing them for. Again, back to the stat. 97% of them are not going to college to play sports.
Yeah.
So this is the end of the line for them. We want to give them as much as we can so they're ready to go on to be good citizens, because most of them are not going to be playing. That's not just going to IU or going to Purdue or Ball State or somewhere. That's not even going to any level.
Right.
D3, NAIA, 3% fit into that whole bucket.
Category. Yeah. So really trying to do the most you can for the community and everybody else. So that's awesome.
So we're here to protect and sustain it. So it's all good.
That's awesome. Well, Matt, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. And I wish you guys all the best here and all the work you're doing.